Hi, I'm Sylvia and welcome to my channel. Today I'm speaking about Pluto in the 10th house. Now, I already made a video called Success and Fame in the Birth Chart, in case you're interested, where I'm speaking briefly about Pluto in the 10th house and how Pluto in the 10th house can be an indicator for fame and or success in this lifetime. Now, having Pluto in the 10th house, which is the house of your career, worldly achievements, worldly success, this 10th house is about recognition, it's about being in the public eye, being visible, and it's also about status. It's about the highest or very high positions in our society, and having a strong planet like Pluto in the 10th house can definitely mean that in this time, during this lifetime, you can achieve a lot of power and even control over other people, or you can gain a lot of power and a lot of worldly success during this lifetime. Having Pluto in the 10th house can mean that people can perceive you as someone who is indeed very powerful or someone they shouldn't mess up with. But the 10th house doesn't speak necessarily about who you truly are. That's what the first house speaks about. But the 10th house speaks more about the the persona or the public persona that you want to create, the persona that you want to show it to the world. So basically, it might not be exactly who you truly are, but it can be more who you would like to be in the eyes of other people. So, having Pluto in the 10th house can mean that you are perceived, or you want to create that persona, that person who's very powerful, very strong, someone who you wouldn't like to mess up with, or someone who can be a bit tough. And it can also mean that people, for example, can perceive you as being very magnetic, or very sexy, or someone who has also a lot of sex appeal. And uh, having Pluto in the 10th house can mean that people, they're either very magnetized by you or hypnotized by you. They do like you a lot. Or it can be the other way around, because Pluto is the planet of extremes, and it can also mean that other people can actually feel repulsed by you, or they simply don't like you, or they just hate you for no reason, or without even knowing who you truly are. So you can get, let's say, very strong reactions from other people, whether they like you a lot or they feel repulsed by you a lot. And obviously, Pluto, which is one of the planets that rules over power, over control, it rules also over manipulation. Um, so this someone who has Pluto in the 10th house, they can be very ambitious, and they can have a lot of willpower to achieve a very high social status. And let's be honest, I think that many of them do want to have power, they do want to have control over other people, and they feel like they can access their power, their inner power, or their personal power the moment they have a very powerful status, social status, or they have a high position somewhere in society. And this is why, for example, a lot of politicians might have this position, this placement in their birth chart, or a lot of people like business people, or directors, CEOs, they can have this position because at the end of the day, their main goal is to have power in our society. they they do enjoy to have power over other people. That's very true. And because Pluto is the planet of willpower, they also have a lot of willpower, a lot of ambition, and they do put a lot of focus into having or achieving worldly success, or achieving, like I said before, a high social status uh, in our society. And one very good example, although he's more a bit of like of a negative example than a positive example, is Vladimir Putin. He has Pluto in his 10th house. So he is indeed viewed, and he is not only viewed, but he is someone, a very strong, powerful leader. Indeed, he really is. But sometimes, again, the shadow side of Pluto, like I said, is manipulation. So they can achieve a lot of power, sometimes just by playing dirty. That would be like the more negative side of Pluto in the 10th house. They can, let's say, just bring out the skeletons in other people's closets just to achieve what they want. For example, let's say if they're politicians, or they can sometimes do, let's say, things that are not really legal, as Pluto can also rule over corruption. And they can also have a lot of influence and power on other people, and generally speaking, others can follow them. And the reason why they can have so many followers is because they do understand and they do know the psychology of other people. So they know how to do or to say the right words in order to persuade other people, in order to convince others to follow them. And they can also be very, let's say, very influential, like I said before. But they can inspire confidence in other people. People can follow them because they see them as someone who is strong, someone who's a powerful leader. So this is also a very important thing that helped them achieve a lot of worldly success or high positions in our society. Now, in his book, Stephen Arroyo is speaking about Pluto in the 10th house. So this is his book, Astrology, Karma, and Transformation. And he says, he's speaking about Pluto in the 10th house, and I quote: "The compulsiveness of Pluto here often takes the form of an impatience towards authority, a resentment against those in authority, or an overwhelming drive to establish oneself as outstanding in some way that will be recognized by others. These people can often attain the position in the world which they seek, but it usually involves a long and somewhat painful re-evaluation of their true motives and values. Hence, those with this position of Pluto need to totally transform their attitudes towards worldly success, authority, and reputation. Ideally, it symbolizes an ability to see beyond the outer forms of authority, and hence to develop a deeper sense of responsibility about wielding authority." And this is quite true, actually, because Pluto sometimes can can mean being obsessed with power and being obsessed with having control over other people and imposing your own will upon other people. And many times, the reason why they want to achieve this level of power and success is because they do want to have power and control over other people, to the point where there's a very fine line between having a high position in society and being authoritarian or being tyrannical even. And I do believe that the challenge that these people can deal with is that they need to learn that they can only have control over themselves and over their lives, but they cannot have really control, or they shouldn't have, or try to have full control over other people, because the negative side of Pluto in the 10th house can be abuse of power, or feeling like, having this God complex, like just because I say so, just because I want to, things and people have to do what I say so because I choose what other people should do, or sometimes even exploiting others just to satisfy their thirst for power, for control, for money, even. And this is when we see the darker side of Pluto in the 10th house. And sometimes, if they don't know how to have control over themselves, they can be quite destructive. And again, I'm bringing this example, which is not the most positive example to give. Vladimir Putin, look at him. He has Pluto in the 10th house, and look what he is bringing to our world. Obviously, it doesn't mean that everyone who has Pluto in the 10th house is going to be this destructive, obviously, but they do need to question, like Stephen Arroyo says in this book, they need to be a bit more careful when it comes to their motives and to the reasons why they want to achieve so much power into their lives. Another more negative interpretation of the 10th house is the fact that they do want to um, take sometimes too much advantage, let's say, of their sexuality, or um, and how they actually obtain power, uh, just taking advantage of their sexuality or their sex appeal as well. Or even sometimes they can be corrupt, or they can do things which are, let's say, are not very legal, or they're not really moral, just to get what they want. Now, if you have Pluto in the 10th house, it can mean that you could make a career, for example, as a influencer. And I'm not saying only being an influencer on social media, but generally speaking, you can be someone who people follow. And this is because, like I said before, you do know very well the psychology of the masses and what the masses like, or what the masses of people want or need, and you can provide that. And you do know how to, if you want, you do know how to even make other people like you. But you could also, for example, have a career in the sex industry, or you could be quite successful if you know how to use your sexuality or your sex appeal, because, like I said before, you can be perceived as being very someone who has a lot of sex appeal, or someone who's very even charismatic, and um, magnetizing, and um, even someone who knows how to make other people be even obsessed with you. But another career for people who have Pluto in the 10th house is definitely being a leader, even being working, for example, as a politician as well, or being a good investor, working in banking or in investments or in stock markets. And generally speaking, you can be very good at seeing the opportunities in when it comes um, to investments, for example. You can be very, very good at that. Or for example, you could even work, especially let's say if you have Pluto in the 10th house but also in Virgo, you could be, for example, a biologist, or a work in being a chemist, or working in research, for example, or I don't know, everything that's related to research, and even medicine as well. You could be, for example, someone who finds a new, I don't know, a new vaccine or a new therapy of some sort.